Hello, ladies. Welcome to Feme Sol. This is an offshoot of the page, The Women Out the Box. And so we are discussing in this realm what it looks like to be on the other side of domestic violence, the other side of homelessness, and the initiation stages of just being a woman going through and navigating like our daily lives, right? And so I think we last left off in the space of the land that was given to me. So I was just kind of discussing my mental stage, my health, what was going on in the world around me, and how I was able to kind of come up and over. So some of those things that allowed me to come up and over was health and fitness. So to clear the mind of fog, to make sure that the vessel is strong and fit for the journey ahead, health and exercise became a very big part of my life. I believe I touched on um, speaking with and meeting Dr. Sabi and how that kind of changed my life insofar as why being a vegan and vegetarian was important. So as a kid, I was raised vegan and vegetarian for a majority of my life. So this wasn't new, but the parameters of why it was important was new, right? This wasn't just something we did at our house, right? This became a lifestyle. And so I think I also talked about in the road to recovery, the land that was left to me. Don't mind me, I'm just checking out some notes. Um, what also was happening was the muscle memory that was taking place, right? So when we are physically fit, when we use our bodies in the way in which they were made to be used, specifically at a young age, there is something that happens to the body, right? So each cell holds memory. Every cell in the body knows its job, right? So when we talk about the molecular aspect of those molecules in the mind, right? When we talk about the electric um, firing that's happening in the mind to do whatever the task is, there's a portion of the mind that is the memory, and that is connected to muscle, that's connected to muscle tissue. And so when the mind remembers that I like this thing, this is a good thing, let's do more of it, then it jumps back into gear and it picks up where it left off at. So I'm kind of like in the stage of recapturing my youth. And I know that may seem controversial because I still look very youthful and I'm still in my 30s. But the way my physique was when I was about 19 or 20 before the kids is an internal goal, right? And I may never reach that goal, but I just like that objective of going towards that thing. And so I began to utilize future goals to kind of settle me in the moment, right? And so Neville Goddard really hones in on this idea of living in the end. And so we envision ourselves where we want to be, and then we keep focus on that vision. So no matter what happens, no matter what life throws at us, we continue to hold on to that vision. Well, there were so many things that I was holding on to insofar as the visions that I had for myself and who I wanted to be and who I thought I was, right? When I was experiencing domestic violence and extreme homelessness, I held on to those visions. I held on to those dreams, right? And I feel that had I not done that, if there was no light at the end of the tunnel for me to be going towards, I probably would have remained in the dark. There's something very, I guess, non self serving about the human experience when we become lethargic, when we become complacent, when we become comfortable, and we allow familiar environments to sway us to stay, right? I could have stayed in the dark and made a place for myself and gotten comfortable in the dark and decided that this is where, this is where it ends for me and this is what I'm going to do. But I held on to the light of that vision, and that allowed me to continue to go forward. So I guess in that road to healing, like some of the biggest takeaways that I had with the downtime, because if you haven't seen any of the other episodes, by the age of 22, was on my second child, getting ready to go on my second child, and entering into a domestic violence relationship. Prior to that, I had experienced some years of homelessness, and I would then go into some more years of bouncing from house to house, or, you know, stacking, as they call it. And so once I was settled, I then had a tragedy with my middle child accidentally hanging herself. And so DCFS comes into the play. So the kids are taken away. Um, they live with the perpetrator, right? How crazy is that, right? So we have to pretend to be decent people and pretend to be nice people, because I don't want my children to go to the system. I'd rather them be with family than to be, just out there. And so while I had all this downtime, because it took maybe 4 years for the girls to come home, I consumed a very large amount of literature. So when we begin to play with the mind, when we begin to play with how we respond mentally and then outwardly to a thing, I felt like distraction was probably going to be my best friend, right? And I don't mean the escapism of drugs, or, just like really being out there bad in life. No, it was really the escapism of stories being told, right? So I get to live in the moment of these stories. My favorite author, hands down, is James Baldwin. This man does something to me. And so I have probably read over 1,000 books in that short time, because I was just wanting to be inundated with information that didn't center myself and what was going on with me, right? And so, in compass of consuming all of this literature, my diet was changing. My physical was changing. I had gone from like maybe 120 pounds to 98 pounds. I'm naturally thin, but I'm naturally curvy for a thin woman, ironically enough. And so, for me to get down to that stick thin, I knew that I was wearing my situation. And then the light bulb came on. I didn't want to wear what had happened. Now, granted, I was masking domestic violence. I was covering up for my partner at the time. I was lying. I was doing mental gymnastics, trying to convert myself into believing that this was okay and that I would be fine, and that as long as no one found out, everything would be okay. I could fix this, right? Because that is the thing about a nurturer. Her objective is to fix it. If you fall, your mother's going to catch you. If you cry out, your mother's going to come. Like, we are trained, and then it becomes a socialized norm for women to be fixers, right? So in my mind, I could fix this. But aha, I had found out what it was. I was wearing those masks, but it was not self-serving. It was literally to cover up what was happening, right? So there are some days where you just feel like you don't want to talk about it, you don't want to tell anyone, you don't want to say anything, and that's fine. And to wear a mask at that moment, that's fine. But to mask domestic violence, to mask homelessness, to cover it up for someone else, not even for my own. I wasn't even doing this for my children. I wasn't doing this for me. I was literally trying to protect my abuser. And so once I finally realized that the mask that I wanted to wear was the ability to make it through life without everyone looking at me saying, oh my God, how could that be? Oh, I just didn't want people looking at me like they wish they would die. That triggered me. It harmed me that people were looking at me like, I feel so sorry for you. And I didn't want that. I didn't want that. I wanted the hand up, not the hand out. I could help myself. I just needed to get to a place where that was possible. And so as the diet changed and the mind changed and the environment changed, right? Everything began to change. And then it wasn't so detrimental. It wasn't so like if I just take another step or another breath, like I just would lose it. And fortunately for me, I had enough of an environment of people, friends, places, smiles, happiness, laughter. I was allowed to be happy again. And would you believe, going through the DCFS thing, I people wished me dead. People wanted me dead. People were like, "Why are you smiling? You don't get to smile. You don't get to be happy." Not and these people were not aware that I was coming out of homelessness or domestic violence. They were not aware that my partner took his Section 8 so that me and my children wouldn't have a place to stay. No one is aware of that. Because remember, I'm masking. I'm pretending like everything is okay. So they don't know how bad it really is. But 360 and life has changed. Things begin to change. I begin to see myself. And it's like, hold on, I'm still in there. I'm still that girl. I'm still that woman. I just need a minute to catch my breath. I just needed a minute to get right back. And that's what I did, right? Through spirituality, through self-help, through health, through food, through changing my mind, I changed everything around me, right? And so I don't think I'm going to cut this up. I'm just going to keep going. How I was able to get out of the box, you guys. Women out of the box will be my legacy. It is my legacy. I had a very private moment with the Creator. I lived on the floor for a very long time. So when I talk about homelessness, I really mean that. I was on the floor below the plug-in outlets, that far on the ground. I said, I have something inside of me still to give. The Most High agreed with that. I said, if I make it past this, then I have something else to give. And the Creator agreed with that. And I said, if you get me out of this situation, when it's my time, I will help to make sure that no woman has to leverage her freedom, that she can be heard and seen, that recognition that she requires is available to her. Resources are available to her. This isn't a secret. It doesn't have to be taboo. You don't have to go through this alone. And the Creator, the Most High, said, yeah, I'll let you do that. And I fast forward that moment, right? Because this is just a private moment I'm having with the Most High. I'm begging, basically, to be of service to the Creator, for the Creator, while I'm on the floor. When I tell you that I'm a good person and that's innate, that's something that's in me that no man can take from me, the Most High saw that too, and I was granted access. See, remember, when we talk about domestic violence and we talk about homelessness, these are things, obstacles placed in front of you to make sure that you don't succeed to the destiny, right? To make sure that you don't help those that come up after you. That's what all this was about. Making sure that I did not have the light to go to the end of the tunnel. Extinguishing my light so that we all remain in the dark. That's what the domestic violence was about. Let me knock you down a peg so you don't think that highly of yourself. Can't have you out here helping people, thinking you somebody. Where would that leave me? Because a lot of women that find themselves in a domestic violence relationship are in relationships with men who feel left behind. They feel outcasted. They feel like life has done something to them and it owes them something. And because you still have a light and because you still have energy, you can still see happiness out in the world. You don't have to bring that into your home. How dare you? You know what's going on out there in the world. How dare you still have a dream? How dare you still smile? How dare you get to be happy? Let me get that from you. And when I realized That's what was happening. The domestic violence, that's a blip. When we talk about the totality of life, that's a blip. My name will remain here well after I'm gone. The impact that I will leave will be here well after I'm gone. That was what was trying to be extinguished at that moment. And had I not asked to be a vessel for the Most High, had I not asked for permission to help women that were in my position on the floor, I would have never seen the total capacity of what unconditional love really looks like, forgiveness and mercy, what that really looks like, allowing myself to surrender to being a decent person and recognizing that that has to be dealt out accordingly and that the discernment is on me. This is the scope of domestic violence, trying to take something from you. This is what homelessness tries to do, take something from you. Your dignity, those identifiers for being human. It is a devaluing system. And if you have enough light inside of you to go forward, that's exactly what you'll do. Nothing can stop that. Nothing can stop that. And so Women Out of the Box is a legacy that started on the floor. I just wanted to help and be of service. And that's what my legacy is, being of service and being helpful, right? Side note, if you're wondering, I do pray for my enemies every day now. Every day now. It's not important enough or solely important to just pray for the ones you love. That's a small circle. But we pray for our enemies. We pray for our haters. We pray that the Most High will be done in their life. Because what we keep forgetting sometimes, and self-included, is that the hater is the opposing energy. It has nothing to do with you. It just is. If there's an up, there's a down. If it's a left, it's a right. If it's a black, it's a white. If it's a day, it's a night. Those are just natural opposing forces that create balance. And it's our objective to find out where we sit in that balancing scale. Don't be the vessel for the negativity. Don't be the vessel for that. Let the world deal with that. It's plenty of that out there. Let them deal with that. When you decide that you're better than that, when you decide that your grace and your dignity and your image is bigger than what the enemy has for you, you're going to act accordingly. I'm the graceful one. And that's the way the story goes. Still beautiful, still charming, still fabulous, still fit. I'll be 40 in September. Why would I ever let anyone take that from me? Okay? And so when we talk about legacy building, this is something that is supposed to create impact continually, impactful continually, right? And so I chose the box as the mascot outside of the feminine symbol. The mascot is because of the parameters and the self-imposed parameters of getting outside of a box and then realizing that the box never existed. It's self-imposed, right? The best example that I can give of that is that we live in the 3D, right? I can touch this plant, I can touch my body. We're living in a physical place, right? But when we go into the mind, when we use our imagination, there are no parameters to that. There's no walls, there's no structure, there's none of that. It's just all existence, right? And we want to get to that place of creating, right? We want to get to that place of legacy building, right? This innate thing that continues on day after day, year after year, into forever, right? And so utilizing this box, the things that are inside of it, the contents, since we're going to stay in the physical, the contents inside of the box is more important than the box, right? So if we are looking at this life that we live, as the box. What is contained inside of the box is more important than the box. What is inside of you is more important than the box itself. The soul that you carry inside of this physical box is more important than this physical box. This is why the soul lasts forever and the body is just temporal. It's temporary, right? And so, women out of the box is solely to provide provisions for women experiencing domestic violence and homelessness. I remember selling link to get diapers and pads for my children. Those type of things lead women going back to domestic violence. Not having access and having, our ego up on our butt sometimes, that keeps you going back to volatile scenarios and environments because you don't want to have to struggle. And so we're taking some of the struggle out, right? Okay. So the reason why Women Out of the Box, this version of Women Out of the Box, because like I said, we're at Feme Sol. Feme Sol is another version of Outside the Box. Every portion of anything that I do is going to be woman-centered, and it is going to be, the brainchild of Women Out of the Box. So advocacy is my forte, right? I've spoken up for people my entire life. I am anti-bullying to the max, right? I'm anti-abuse more so than anything, right? And that's abuse of self and others. But this advocacy started with me being fed up. And that's a great place to start. When you are fed up, when you're done with a thing, when you can't take it anymore, are you fed up to do something about it? I am, and I was. And so with this series, I just want to continue on with just sharing who I am. I do not plan on taking these stories on to the next life. That's why I'm getting it out. I know a lot of people be like, I'm taking stuff to the grave. Don't do that. You'll bring it back here on the second go round. I'm getting it off my chest. I want to start in love. I want to start with love. I want to end the last leg of my race with love. And so being fed up is how I got started. Now, obviously, me going through these personal experiences of domestic violence and homelessness, really got me started. But where I decided I could be of service to help, I was fed up. And so I'm going to talk about how I got out the box, rerouting my goals and some of what my new goals are, where I want my boxes to go, the universal ideas that I have for Women Out of the Box, some of the partnerships that I look forward to, and some of the partnerships that I will have by the end of this year. So you can look forward to that on the next episode. And once again, until we meet again, I'll say all of my sayings. It's not enough to just be pretty. You must be pretty on purpose. That's the Wim Tour Academy. You can check me out on Instagram. What's my other one? Any stone that you leave unturned just may hold the key to unlocking the gate. And until we meet again, peace. And then I have one more. I don't know. I can't think of it. I got a few of them. But yeah. So until I see you guys again, be safe, respect women, respect yourself. And until we meet again, peace.